In today's video, we'll be making an acrylic edge-lit LED sign using our Shapeoko and Carbide Create. It's worth mentioning that we'll be using the regular software and not the Pro version. As always, everything needed to make this project will be in the description below. Alright guys, the first steps first, we're going to decide what we want to do. And what we've done, we're using these little fellas right here. LED bases. Opening right here is about 0.8 inches wide by about 0.6 deep. Got to make sure you got enough material there down here below. Take care of that. I usually do it about 2.7 by about 0.6. So yeah, so you can see right here, about 2.715 by 0.83. So it should come up a little bit. And the reason we have this like flared out like that, so the light can better diffuse into the design. That way you don't get cold spots. This is what we're gonna be doing. Basically, the brown's gonna be like the whole cutout. So we made that. We made our flared part. And all we really did was just fill in the data. Like what we did, we just took everything and then we just did an object, a path, and we offset the path. That's what we ended. We will go ahead and show you the final version. This is the final version. Exactly what we'll be cutting. Overall, we're going to cut this into acrylic from Home Depot. It should be pretty straightforward. But we'll go ahead and show you how to do that. All of our files are saved. So we can go ahead and open Create. We don't have our Pro license anymore. But what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and import it. We're going to do an image trace. We're going to go bam. I think it's under artwork, acrylic projects, and final version. And see, there, that's what we're going to do. And we're going to trace it. That's going to give us most of it. We're going to go ahead and make a size we need. Going to be 2.75. .625. So this is the size we actually need. Okay, we can just disable that. Scale it until we get it closer to what. That looks very close. Scale it till we get what we want. Should be looking really good. Turn off snaps and see, it's almost perfect size, so I think we're good. Like we have this guy at about 6 inches, 6.5 by 8. Redo our design. Thickness, it's 0.1. What we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and ungroup all this. Group vector. In theory, we should be able to just, it's going to be our cut line. Set that up. That is a contour. We're going to have it do an 1/8 inch. We're going to use an 1/8 inch O flute. That's, we're not going to do any tabs because we're going to do outside cut it to the right. That's exactly. Everything else, we're going to see if it'll do right. If we can just pocket. Not an 1/8 inch. Use a diamond drag bit. I think it's a V bit. Have it do. depth 0.5. We might have to double. Like it's doing a pretty darn good job. That's almost exactly what we. Almost exactly what we're expecting. Doing one pass, not multiple passes. Yep, just one pass is all we're doing. So this looks like it's going to run about 21 minutes. So this should etch the acrylic perfectly. Start depth, probably. Step over point. We can do 0.5. Really, if we really take more time, we'll get a much tighter pattern. Let's do that. Go ahead and save this on our OneDrive as water in. Alright, first things first, what we're going to want to do, we're going to want to prep our surface. I'll be holding down the piece with painter's tape. So what I'm doing is I'm just putting a big piece enough to CA it. We're going to use the painter's tape and CA method of doing this. So there we go. That should work just fine for what we need. And also, we're going to go ahead and peel the back of our acrylic out and go ahead and get that knocked out too. So we're going to go ahead and just do that. That should be more than enough for us to engrave and carve. So we're just going to put some blue painter's tape on it. Now we got that piece knocked out. What we're going to do, we're going to take us some CA glue. Okay, now after a little mishap, what we're going to do is we're just going to put some CA in strips. And then what we're going to do now, since we're using CA, we're going to use a little activator. Wipe the dust off of it. Give it a little shaky shake. And we're just going to mist it with some activator. And all this does is make the CA immediate. Now all we're doing, we're lining up at the bottom, getting it close, and we're just plopping it on down. And giving it a little love tap. And there we go. Now it's stuck, it ain't going nowhere. Also, it's worth mentioning that we're going to go ahead and peel that. That's the way this plastic doesn't build up. What we do is we use Microsoft OneDrive to get our files out here to the shop computer. I don't have screen capture set up, but here we go. We go ahead. We got it set up. We got the diamond drag bit, and then we got the contour. And overall, this should work fine. So we got it saved and everything. We're ready to set it up. That should be fun. Actually, we're going to move it up a ½ inch. We're going to move everything up a ½ inch just so I don't cut into my plastic. So we're just going to take it and we're going to slightly move them up. There we go. That way we don't cut into our plastic and we make sure we got that good. And we're going to go ahead and save our file. Oh, it may be running. Give it a minute. Now we can save it. Now that we've run our paths. Alright, now we're going to open up Carbide Motion, which controls our CNC machine. We're going to connect to our cutter. We're going to go ahead and initialize our machine. Alright, Now it's going to come right up here, and what we're going to do, it's going to ask us to insert a tool, and I'm going to use the 1/8 inch O flute to do that. Specifically this little guy right. That's going to be a mess later on. Specifically this guy right here. Whoop. The 1/8 inch O flute. I don't know if it focused. There we go. Super sharp, brand new O flute. We're going to use him. You got to be careful using it because it will absolutely cut you. So don't do that. Unless you literally want to have blood, sweat, and tears in a project. Now, we're going to use this to zero the machine and all that good stuff. Should go right on in there, no problem. Hand tighten it. Be careful not to cut yourself on that step. And then we are going to just cinch it down pretty good, and we're good to go. Now we can set. It'll measure it, and it'll go ahead and use your. We're using a bit setter because it's way easier and absolutely worth the $70 or $80 or whatever. Go ahead and let it do that. We'll time lapse that part. Alright, now we're going to zero our machine. We're going to go ahead and measure it. We're going to get our trusty piece of paper that I've been using for like a year now, which is crazy that I hadn't lost it yet. And we're going to zero out with this bit, and we're not going to zero out using the diamond drag bit because it has that spring in it. So we're going to get our zero. Go ahead and move this camera over just a smidge. We're going to zero toward the middle. We're going to put our paper under there. We're going to go to 1 millimeter at a time. We're going to go 1/4 millimeter. See, right there. And we're going to go 1 down. And that's our zero right there. So we're going to go ahead and zero our Z-axis. And then we're going to move to fast again. And then we're going to zero our X and Y axis. So we're just going to eyeball that. It doesn't have to be really precise. Just somewhere close. We're just going to go ahead and do that. We'll go ahead and do him right there. That way we're not in any danger of cutting anything. And we're going to zero the X and the Y axis. Now we are good to go. We can run our file. So what we're going to do, we are going to, that's a horrible view, but we're just going to load our file. And the name of the file says it's going to take about 41 minutes. I try to always preview the job and just make sure everything looks like I expect it to. Yep, that looks about right. That looks about right. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start the job. So first things first, it should ask us for our MC etcher bit. We're going to go ahead and get that first. Again, be careful handling this particular, really any bit, be careful handling because there's always a risk of cutting yourself. Go ahead and move you out the way. Now, I don't know about y'all's MC etcher, but mine doesn't really fit too good. I just have to kind of shove it in there the best I can. It does not fit very well for some reason. Oh, there we go. And there we go. Cool. I don't even put the dust boot on for this part. I do it later on when we're actually cutting. But that should do that. Now it should touch off on our probe over here on the bit setter. and it should go to work and start engraving. Yep, now it's asking us to set the speed dial to 1, but we know since we're not going to actually rotate this bit, so we're going to go ahead and just do it and let it engrave. Now, we'll go ahead and do a time lapse of this that way, because I know y'all aren't going to want to watch this. Alright guys, now we're ready to go ahead and turn the spindle off. Alright, go ahead and do that. And it's time for a tool change, so we're going to go ahead and do that. On the computer, you'll see that, please turn off spindle. So we'll go ahead and do that. Spindle is off, so we'll let it do its thing. Overall, it looks like it turned out really good. I know that's kind of one of those things you don't know till you see, but you know. Like I said, that little guy's stubborn, but it's a great bit. Like it's a great bit. Yeah, that looks really good. I'm pretty happy with that. So we'll put our MC etcher back up. Go ahead and drop this over here. Go ahead and show you. We're going to go ahead and do this. It's asking for the single flute. We're doing the 1/8 inch single flute bit again, because I feel like that cuts super duper clean in plastic. And I do like to run dust collection with it. It don't produce that much dust, but just I like, you know, cut down on dust if possible. That should be just about right. Let me go ahead and set the router up. We'll go ahead and let it touch off. It's going to touch off with that. We're expecting a speed setting of 3. That should be more par for the course of what we're looking for. Yep, speed dial RPM 3. Turn it on. That's going to get its dust collection on. Let him cut. Alright, now it's asking us to turn off the spindle. And it's going to go all the way back there. Now let's see. Sorry guys and girls, after cutting, this is what we end up with. So we're going to do the magic peel. Hopefully it'll all peel together. No, can't get that lucky. I think if I overlap my tape a little bit more, it would help. To me, this is always the most interesting part. You see what kind of creation you come up with. Always the fun part. Now, sometimes these little bits with the CA glue would be a pain in the butt. Like this part. It just thickens the paper for some reason. It kind of soaks in a little bit. But overall, it turns out really nice. So that's what you end up with. So we'll go ahead and, you can probably see on the edges there's like a little bit of tape and stuff. We'll go ahead and clean that up with a little sandpaper. I'll be able to see how that's got just a little bit of residue. We just take it, and again, this is part of why curving the feature is nice. Makes the sanding and de-junking stage a lot easier. Now we should be good to go. As you can see, after wiping a little bit, you got a really nice, super awesome sign. So we'll go inside and get it set up, and I'll show you what it looks like. Alright guys, now let's go ahead and show you exactly how I usually sell these. I usually sell them with this LED base that I found on Amazon. As always, I'll have a link in the description where you can find it. Go ahead and plop some batteries in there. They're kind of loosely built, so you know, they usually do pretty good. There we go. And see, by default when you turn it on, your sign's lighting up and everything. I also sell it with a USB cable because these can be powered by USB. And also remote control. That way you can turn it off, on, and you can also like strobe it or fade it. That way it'll fade through the colors and all that. We'll go ahead and turn the light off and you can see exactly how this looks. And we'll go ahead and get a little further back from it. Now again, it's still a little dirty. But as you can see, they look really cool. It's a really cool idea, really cool little sign. But yeah, that's how you do that. As always, if you found this video helpful, feel free to give it a big old thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel for more CNC and sublimation content and just general maker stuff. As always, we'll have links in the description with everything needed to make this, including like the LED base. The acrylic came from Home Depot. It's just the, I think it's the Optics brand, 0.1 inch thickness acrylic, and it turns out pretty good. It has a little bit of wobble, but most people don't tend to mind it too much. It's not perfect. But yeah, that's how you make it. And guys, I appreciate it. Peace.